Smash Bros. Is one of the most legendary franchises in gaming history, but also just so happens to be developed by Nintendo, who absolutely despise anyone who plays a game in a way that they don't like, specifically competitively. Yet there's always been a big and dedicated group of people who play Smash and other games in the genre competitively. And for these people, Rivals of Aether 2 might just be the ultimate platform fighter. Rivals of Aether 2 is the sequel to the hit indie platform fighter Rivals of Aether 1, made by Aether Studios. And yeah, Rivals of Aether 1 that had a Steam workshop, so there were all kinds of wacky characters and whatnot in that one. But today I'm here to talk about Rivals of Aether 2. Like many other Smash clones, or platform fighters as I will be referring to them as for the rest of the video, Rivals of Aether 2 has all of the classic stuff, normal attacks, strong attacks, specials, shielding, grabbing, and I'm just gonna assume that you're somewhat familiar with all of these concepts. The characters in Rivals are, well, first of all, they're all furries, which is, well, that depends on who you ask, I guess, but I think they're all really cool, and I really like their designs. But of course, the most important thing about a platform fighter is how does the game feel to play? And Rivals 2 feels so good to play. It is insanely smooth and everything just feels natural. First loading into Rivals 2, it just instantly feels right, Right off the bat, you can just start playing and you feel like you understand the basics. But don't get that confused for the game being simple or having a low skill ceiling or anything like that. Rivals 2 is an insanely complex and deep game, but only if you want it to be that. You don't need to know all the cool tech like wave dashing or ledge dashing, or how really anything works. The game is fun without all that, but if you decide you want to take your skill a little bit further than that, you will have a bunch of stuff to learn. There's a whole plethora of interesting tech, for example hit falling, which is a mechanic that no other platform fighter has. And what hit falling does is it lets you fast fall right after hitting someone in hit stop. To not get too deep into specifics, it basically just makes you fall when you hit someone. And what that does is it just lets you extend your combos and make them much longer and make them way faster. There's of course also wave dashing and wave landing and all the dashes and waves you could think of, but there's also things like shield dropping. Pretty much all of the cool tech PM or melee players are going to be used to are present in Rivals 2, but at a much lower execution level, letting people learn much faster, which just means that everyone can play the actual fun part of high-level platform fighters. And something that's very important to a lot of people I consume are combos. How do combos feel? Combos feel so damn good. It's insane. Combos just flow in Rivals. Combos are, of course, pretty hard, but at the same time, anyone can string together some cool stuff to make a cool combo. And when you start implementing tech reads and predictions into your combos, you're gonna feel like a machine. But as much as playing seriously is super fun and rewarding, you can also just take it slow and enjoy the goofy platform fighting stuff. Of course, you can do this in person or online over the amazing netcode. Genuinely, the netcode is about as good as you can get to offline that online could ever get, pretty much. But when you have online this good, you can get really good just by playing online, which is fantastic for the long-term health of the game. And as mentioned earlier, the characters are also just amazing. Not just visually, but also in-game. They all play super fun and very unique. Part of this is due to the elemental system in Rivals. You see, every character has an element. Fire, water, earth, air. Yeah, it's just like Avatar. For example, you have Zetterburn. Zetterburn obviously uses the fire element, he's literally on fire. And the way that this affects his gameplay is that some of his attacks, for example his neutral special, can set you on fire. Of course, dealing a little bit of damage, but more importantly, when you are on fire, Zetterburn's smash attacks deal massive knockback. So whenever you are on fire, you need to play around Zetterburn not hitting you with the smash attacks. Or if you're playing Zetterburn, then you of course need to play around when you can inflict fire so that you can kill people earlier, which just is some really cool depth. Another character could be Crag. Crag is a rock and one of the heavy characters, and a user of the stone element. Crag can create platforms in the air, letting him extend combos or recover, but he can also just pull a rock out of the floor and just throw it at you repeatedly, which is always a fun Sunday activity. Am I right, cavemen? Of course, you also have a bird. Yeah, I wonder what his element is. Yeah, Raster is just your classic bird wind person. If you play Breath of the Wild, you know exactly what Raster's like because he's basically just Rivali. So yeah, there's characters like Crag and Raster and Zetterburn whose elements are pretty clear, right? But then there are characters like Clarence, who's a fire elemental, but that might not be very clear from the first glance. But if you look at her sword, well, that is the way that her elemental power is used. Her sword is made of plasma, which is hot, so I guess it's fire, I guess. Oh, and she also time traveled back in time to kill a robot elephant overlord before the elephant becomes a robot immortal overlord, but that's a whole nother story. Then there's Rano, a frog, so it's probably pretty obvious what element he is, of course that being water. But instead of just like splashing water on you or whatever, Rano's ability is that his water is poisonous. So some of his moves apply this little poison thing above your head, which whenever you attack, these stacks will go away. However, when they disappear by you attacking, you're gonna take some damage from that. You can get rid of them that way, or Rano can swallow you and put you into a bubble where he can hit you all he wants and there's nothing you can do about it. However, how long you stay in this bubble is determined by how many poison stacks are on you. So basically you never want to be in that bubble with a lot of poison stacks on you. And of course we also have the lovable Orcane, who is like the god of water or something, but I don't really know. That it's just like Rivals lore is it's cool, but it's weird. But in game, Orcane is one of the most unique platform fighting characters I've ever seen. Orcane's main gimmick is the puddle, which he can teleport to with, for example, his special pummel or his up special as recovery. But along with using it for movement, he can also use it in combos. His smash attacks become empowered when he stands in the puddle, so you can combo people over into the puddle and then finish it off with a super strong smash attack. And Furzburn, the most recent character to be added into Rivals 2, his element is also fire, like Zetterburn, and in fact, he's actually Zetterburn's brother. But instead of just normal actual flames, Furzburn uses smoke to sneak attack and hide and even create clones to confuse your enemy or whatever. I could genuinely go on and on about all the different characters and what their element does and whatnot. At this point, I think you get it. All the characters are just insanely cool and fun to play, and there's also a pretty interesting lore setup for the game, mostly revolving around Claren trying to kill Loxodon, which is that elephant overlord that I was talking about. But Claren traveled back in time to kill him before he becomes immortal, which is why she has a lightsaber and why Loxodon isn't a robot in it yet. But yeah, the lore is kind of weird, but it's pretty cool. If you want to learn more about the lore, I'll have a video link below that I recommend that I watched. Although one more thing to note on the topic of characters. You know how fighting games always release new characters after launch, but they're always paid DLC, so if you want all the characters, it can actually cost a lot of money. Well, in Rivals 2, although they are adding a bunch of new characters after launch, they are all going to be free. In fact, there isn't going to be a single gameplay related paid DLC. There's going to be a bunch of stuff added, but it's all going to be free. The only microtransactions for Rivals 2 are going to be cosmetics. But even so, you're going to be able to earn free cosmetics through just playing the game. So it's not like Drip is going to be exclusive to people who pay. But outside of just new characters being added, there's a whole bunch of new content promised to be coming out over the next years after release. Another cool thing is that the game is being co-published by Off-Brand Games, which is Ludwig's game publishing studio, which I'm sure you're aware of if you are like alive, I think. Which means that there's going to be a bunch of support for the competitive scene, like tournaments and whatnot, which if all that works out is truly going to make Rivals of Aether 2 stand out from pretty much all the other platform fighters. Well, except for maybe Brawlhalla, because that has a big scene, but Brawlhalla is like a fake game. I don't think that's real. But yeah, if you can't tell, I think Rivals 2 has an amazing competitive multiplayer gameplay. But what about single player stuff? Well, to be frank, that's probably where Rivals 2 is lacking the most. There's currently no proper single player mode. There is a tutorial, but it's very basic. But the story mode is currently in development and is coming out sometime in the future. But I mean, at the end of the day, the most important thing in a platform fighter is the multiplayer, playing against your friends and whatnot. And while it would be nice to have a single player mode, the game has it where it counts even without it. Okay, so that was the case. That was true until a couple days ago where they announced that there's actually gonna be an arcade mode on launch, which is super cool. So yeah, I was lying. There is actually going to be a single player mode, which is super cool. It's not the story mode, but it is like a proper single player game. So that's cool. And I also think you're going to be able to play it co-op. So that's super cool. If I had to give Rivals 2 a rating, I'd probably say 9 out of 10. But ratings can be kind of stupid, I realized. So just fill it out for yourself. But if you are interested in playing Rivals of Aether 2, I'll have a link down below on Steam where you can wishlist it. And if you're watching around the release date of this video, you can just play it for free on Steam for a week. So like, just go play it. It's free for a week. If you enjoyed this video, you might like my video about 3 other platform fighters. Like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. And thank you for watching. Bye.